Well, a lot of uncertainty, of course, because we don't know how all this is going to pan out, and there are just so many ways to look at it. So, of course, some of the kind of social things, we think those, and the climate-related changes, some of those we think are not positive. Now, in the short term for the market itself, just the financial market, we think it's positive that you roll back potentially some of the regulations. You can see clearly there is a bit more of animal spirit coming out. And we saw that already back in November. I was in New York, I interviewed more than 50 CEOs, and 9 out of 10 thought that business was going to be better. Then the question, of course, is longer term, what's going to happen with inflation and so on, and that's the big uncertainty.
You see, that's exactly the point here. You've got two groups of people in Davos. You've got the bankers, the financiers, and the yous, and they are all, yeah, great, we're off to the races. And then you've got the NGOs, the social welfare and the social policy people who are looking like they've been hit over the head with a piece of wet fish.
Yeah, but they have.
Well, where are you?
Well, I'm kind of thinking both. You know, on the one hand, negative for the climate, negative for a lot of those type of issues. But if you just look at purely financial sector, probably positive in the short term. And long term, we don't know what the effect is going to be. And we also, of course, are invested in Europe, which is on the receiving end of tariffs, and that's not very positive.
So let's talk then about where you do see change, where you do see the necessity to make alterations and change. Where would it be?
Well, I actually think that in a world which is increasingly, uncertain and unpredictable, you need to try to do the opposite as everybody else. If something is very hot and overbought, you should sell it. If something seems to be avoided and is very cheap, you should buy it. And so I think in this environment, you just really need to do the opposite of everybody else.
You're a contrarian.
We're trying to be.
So when we've talked before, you mentioned about AI and the use of AI. You've really gone for it, hell for leather. Are you using it in investment decisions? How are you using it?
Well, less in investment decision, more in trying to reduce our trading costs by predicting what we're going to buy and sell going forward, and so we can internalize more of that. And then we try to make everything we do more efficient. Quite interestingly, a bit more than a year ago, I asked Sam Altman of OpenAI, hey, how much do you think we can improve our productivity? And he said 20%. Now, before Christmas, we asked 650 out of over 700 colleagues, how much has generative AI improved your productivity? The average, 15%. 15%.
How do you measure it?
Well, that was people assessing it themselves.
Right.
Are some people exaggerating? Probably. Are some people underreporting? Probably. I think 15% is for sure a very high number.
Europe could be on the thrust of these policies and changes. Everybody keeps talking about the Draghi report, which you will be familiar with.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about the Draghi report, but they're not doing anything about the Draghi report.
That's correct.
And it's a real worry in a sense, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you have any hope that they'll get their act together?
Not a lot of hope, because what you need to make change is a real crisis. And the countries where they have really changed in Europe, it's been Ireland, they had a crisis. Greece, they had a crisis. The Baltic states, they had crisis. Now, there is no real crisis in Europe.
You don't see the political crisis in Germany bordering.
I don't think it's a crisis. It's weak. I don't see it as an economic crisis.
Right. Excellent. Right. Let's go. I'd time to choose a colour. Which colour are you going for? What word do you like?
I would say unpredictable. Because that's what it is.
With an exclamation.
With an exclamation, because it's very, very unpredictable.
It's very unpredictable.
Because I think everything can happen.
Good, bad, or indifferent? Or all?
All. Very wide potential outcome.
Do you welcome unpredictability?
Why?
Do you welcome uncertainty? Because that creates opportunities. But
sure.
your fund doesn't really do that, does it? Because it's long term.
It's very long term. Now, I kind of like volatility. I think that gives opportunity for people who think differently. So, of course, one should be careful what one wishes for. But, a bit of volatility is good.